Okay, welcome everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, this is our first live. I'm excited. Hi Andre. Hello. So Patricia will be joining us. Beautiful. I'm excited for this one. Hi the world. Oh, hi Patricia. Okay. Let me figure this out. It's my first live, so I need to figure it out how to bring Patricia on board. Okay. Oh, oh my
Oh my
God.
God.
And just like that, we're on.
How
Isn't
are
it great?
you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Great, great. This is our first live at Ninty, so I'm just,
Oh, that's so exciting.
it is, it is. So it's really exciting. And
Oh, I'm
yeah,
so
so
honored.
yeah. Yeah, it
This
is
is great.
exciting. It's great. It's great. It's really interesting because you're just like this kid and you're like trying to figure things out and you're like,
I
"Oh my
know.
God,
I know.
I hope it works."
Yes, it's all working well.
Okay,
hmm
awesome. How was your day? How
Oh,
is
very
everything?
good. Here it's 11 o'clock in New York,
Mm-hmm.
and I know by you it's more the evening. And so it's a kind of grayish day because we have that hurricane coming in,
Whoa.
from just the kind of overflow of the hurricane. My sister's in Florida, so hopefully everybody that's tuning in from Florida is doing okay and is safe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, it's 5 p.m. in Paris.
nice,
Yeah, but
nice.
it's been cold, even if today was kind of nice. It was a sunny day, but it's been kind of like it seems like winter is coming. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
what happens.
yeah,
Yeah,
great. So first of all, thank you so much for being
just trying to get right.
here
Mm-hmm.
and your constant support with Ninty. As I shared with you, this is our first live. And Ninty, oh my
Ah!
God.
That was like a crazy like thing that I was just trying to get some more light because it's a little bright in the back of me. But
Yeah.
anyway, here we are.
Yeah,
Okay.
and yeah, so it's really exciting for us because we started our journey a few months ago with Olga, my co-founder, and everyone keeps asking us, when are you doing lives? And we haven't really done any, and we're like, okay, maybe now it's time. We feel more ready to share about our journeys, but also all the women's health struggles that we are trying to
Of
put a
course.
spotlight on out there. And I would love, before we start, to share more about Ninty and then introduce you. And we've
Of course.
received some questions from our community, and I would love to share them with you and really have a conversation in the floor around preconception and why this part of the journey when we are thinking of having a family and building a family is very important.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Ninty, in very simple words. So our journey started probably like a few months ago. It was around last year with Olga, my co-founder. The idea started from our personal journeys, going through some struggles ourselves on misdiagnosis, but also, my personal fertility journey and talking to many other women out there, realizing the lack of support, the lack of knowledge, the pain in the workplace, but also in society in general, the isolation, no matter where we came from, our culture, our religion, backgrounds, social backgrounds. And we decided to bring a platform where we could put spotlights on different conditions like endometriosis, PCOS, fertility struggles, miscarriages, menopause, postpartum, and also connect the members of our community with amazing practitioners like yourself who are offering support and knowledge, verified knowledge. So I'm very excited to have you here. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about yourself before we diving into all the questions we've received. And before we start, a really big thank you, Patricia, because a friend we have in common that was one of your patients connected us when I was in New York last year. And you've been a constant, cheerleader of Minty. And when we are starting a journey, this means a lot. And
Of course.
I also really wanted to say thank you for that.
Of course. I feel very honored to be part of your first live. I have been definitely more active on social media. I was not really into it that much, and it was just a page for, me and my family. And I just started to share more knowledge, right? And so really the catalyst for that was when I wrote my first book, The Wise Woman's Guide to Your Healthiest Pregnancy and Birth. And this was really an outcry because while pregnancy and women's health is sometimes about 30% of what I do, my real work has been to try to get to the root cause of pain, the root cause of why you're physically limited, why you are having issues, but also treating the professional dancers, professional athletes like tennis players, being one of the therapists at the US Open and at the international tournaments, and working one-on-one with players that were really struggling with performance issues, injuries. Their livelihood depended on them getting back. And what we were finding was that they also wanted to become moms. And they also, just like someone might be wanting to stay in the workforce and have a little more support, like Ninty's trying to do for them. We really didn't have anyone helping women that were on stage that wanted to have a baby and get back on stage. They just retired usually. Or if they, many women leave the workforce after their kids because they just don't have enough support. And so now we're at a point in our lives where we're like, okay, wait a minute, we can do a little bit of everything and we can do it well, but we do need some extra support. So it's really exciting for me because I was working with this population, and now we're going to be expanding and having a task force to help professional female athletes regarding the whole women's health spectrum, from I'm having issues with my, menses, I'm having issues with bone density, I'm having, amenorrhea, I'm having bad period, I'm having endometriosis, I'm having, there's cancer in my family, I want to get screened, or I just want to have a baby and get back safely to doing what I love to do. And so there's a huge outcry for this support. So I really commend you for starting this and, really pushing to try to help at least start in the workforce and then beyond. And really, as a physical therapist, what I was hearing was all my patients were coming to me for pain or variety of problems. And they were like, oh my God, I'm reading this book and it's freaking me out. Or my doctor told me this, or I'm a geriatric pregnancy and I'm high risk. And they're like all depressed and all going, I had to be the one to take them down from the ladder. And so honestly, between a few doctors that I worked with and a few practitioners, as well as my patient population, they were like, can you just write this down in a book so that I can hand it to my friends and we could all stop freaking out over this pregnancy. And and I've been very blessed to be around amazing researchers and combining forces with Dr. Pecorelli with the first 1,000 Days of Wellness and all sorts of wonderful places like the Global Wellness Summit, which I will be speaking at the end of the month in Tel Aviv, Israel. And so there's so many different people that need this extra support. And I just hope that we can reach more and help more, because sometimes it's just a few lifestyle changes. You just need to be abreast of the current research of today, which takes 17 years to make it into the mainstream medical practice. And I don't have 17 years. I don't know about you, but I would like to know some more of this information and be able to arm myself and equip myself with what makes the biggest difference in my life when I am on this journey. What can I do to reduce, my chances of having this? Or if I feel like I need more support along this journey, let me find out more. and not just kind of, I'm throwing my hands up in the air. I don't know, something's wrong with me. No,
Yeah,
there's
or
more.
I'm
There's more.
researching on Google, which is something
Oh
I did
yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very
And
often.
then it's a rabbit hole that you go down and usually leads to depression.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
really, really impressive because you have all those great forum supports out there and all those
Yes.
communities, even on Instagram, you know, I've been diagnosed with PCOS and it's the PCOS Awareness Month right now. And there's great accounts out there to find support to lean onto and get verified content. But I do feel like when you're really seeking uh, concrete behavioral change, it's very hard, you know.
Yes.
When it comes to PCOS, for example, a big piece of the solution that doctors share with you is your lifestyle, nutrition, and understanding what's happening in your body. So I
Yep.
do feel, and this is the mission at Ninty, how can we connect members of our community with practitioners and empathetic professionals who are ready to really guide you throughout this journey? And how do we bring those conversations in the workplace?
Yes.
And when you were talking about behavioral change, I do have, because we are like the goal of this slide is really to focus on preconception, even though there's so many like subjects that I want to share
We'll
with
get
you.
into
And
those
like,
too.
exactly, yeah. So one thing that I've been facing on my preconception journey, it was my fertility journey, but thinking of preconception is really the lack of awareness that is out there when it comes to, like, we've been taught to how not to have babies, but when we start thinking of having babies, what are the main things that you feel like are absolute necessities, needs that we need to be aware of? And what would you recommend for people thinking of the preconception phase to really look up into when it comes to that specific journey?
So, hi everyone. It's so nice to see these like
Yeah, and
messages
feel
coming
free to,
through as
yeah,
well. And I just wanted to
yeah,
say hi and thank you. And please feel free to put in a couple of questions
questions.
if you have along the way. So preconception was really underrated. You know, it was just kind of like, oh, let's cross our fingers, hope we get pregnant, or whoopsie, we just got pregnant, because 1 in 2 pregnancies around the world is still unplanned. But we really, I believe, and a lot of this has been influenced by Dr. Pecorelli's work in the first 1,000 days, and working with him and having the honor and esteemed pleasure to call him a colleague. We realize, and we've been training medical practitioners in this work together and all of this, but we realize that if you actually get healthier in the 9 months prior. Okay, so women have their menstrual cycle that helps to kind of detox them and kind of get rid of certain things that might be floating around in their system that may not be so good when you're getting ready to have a baby. But a man doesn't have that. But the spermatogenesis and how the cycles of the sperm work, you need 3 months to get rid of kind of some toxins that might have been in your body that you were maybe ingesting or having or stressful or blah, blah, blah. Then it takes another 3 months for your body to kind of create new sperm that is kind of cleaner, healthier, and better, if I'm going to use that word. Then it takes another 3 months for it to get optimized. So the 9 months before, for a man or the male sperm, your sperm donor, whoever, needs to be a 9-month time before you start trying, where you go into a healthier lifestyle. You choose to manage your stress. You move, anti-inflammatory lifestyle. So the number one way to reduce inflammation in your body today is to start moving. And if you don't like exercising, or you think that that's a big deal, just even getting out in nature for a 20-minute walk 1 to 2 times a day is hugely impactful. Okay, like a little, going on in your step, something going on in your step there. So it's a very, very important step. But most people want a healthy baby. So if you're going to go on this journey anyway, what's 9 months of dedication towards reducing alcohol, reducing the top inflammatory foods like sugar, gluten, alcohol, too much caffeine, things like ultra processed foods, where your body really doesn't know, number one, how to get the nutrients out of there. Those seed oils that are so high in omega 6s as opposed to the omega 3, 6, ratio that's supposed to be right for us. All these things lead to inflammation. So just saying to yourself, I'm going to get on a healthy kick. I'm going to start moving more. I'm not going to sit at my desk for 8 hours. I'm actually just going to get up. I'm going to take this call walking. I'm going to go on the treadmill desk, or I'm going to, make it into what you need, and little baby steps that you can do. And then for a woman, similar things, same stuff. We want to be moving. We want to be eating right. We want to be managing our stress. We want to be breathing right, but we also need support. So one of the most amazing things that came out of Dr. Alyssa Appel's research, which I was very, very honored to have her as part of the initiative that we have for the first 1,000 days for perinatal wellness with the Global Wellness Institute. So Dr. Appel shared with me a lot of her data and her research firsthand, and she was stunned. They took a bunch of women that were having, Alyssa Appel wrote the book with Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Peace Prize for the telomeres, discovery of the telomeres, which are the ending of your DNA. So I have a Greek background, so of course, telos means the end. So the end of the DNA. And so they took a bunch of women that were classically like an inner city group of women that were giving birth to babies with slightly shorter telomeres than the average. So which means that child was born with slightly stunted lifespan. You could adjust that based on your lifestyle in your lifetime, but they were classically born with slightly shorter telomeres. So they were like, okay, can we affect this? So they gave them the best nutrition ever. They gave them everything they needed to eat to have a healthy pregnancy. And nothing changed. And what they then found was these women were stressed. They were nervous that they were going to get robbed at night, that their other children weren't going to make it to school, that they were in a relationship that maybe was abusive. There was not enough support from a financial, emotional, and safety perspective in their world. And so that lack of support was what was driving the child for shorter telomeres. So if you think about, evolution and just kind of hereditary, like just kind of Neanderthal genes, like if you're in a stressful situation, the Mother Nature is basically saying, this world may not be so good for this child. It doesn't have to live in it for that long. So it was not leading to this robust, healthy kind of length to that life. Granted, when the baby comes out, and if they have a very, very healthy lifestyle and things change and they do have safety and, all of the things they need to thrive, they will stunt the degradation of that telomere and have just as long a life as somebody else. But right out the gates, they were kind of born with a little bit of a deficit. So it's a very interesting thing to think about when you say, what should we be doing in preconception? Get enough support, have that, maybe, outside of giving you a loan, I mean, it's just kind of seeing what you need to do to make sure that you feel safe inside. Whatever changes you must do, and get that support network up. Have a healthier lifestyle, reduce the inflammation in your foods, move more. And that does not mean crazy boot camp. Another caveat here. For the males that are trying to get exercise and get healthy again, because they're 70% responsible for the health of the future baby. 70. They are.
Can you repeat that?
Yes, men, their sperm is 70% responsible. I did a post about this yesterday, in, kind of like because we were doing this live today. It is super, super important, and everybody freaks out about it, but we don't. I feel like just, putting this on a megaphone up from the rooftops and saying, hey guys, you got to get on board. And you can't just expect the woman. Dr. Peccarelli has slides, which are just amazing. Like you see the two different situations. So some women weren't understanding this online. So I'm going to just go into this. If a woman has maybe not so great of a lifestyle, they smoke, maybe they drink a little too much alcohol, they're not exercising enough, and maybe they have an inflammatory lifestyle, and then the man is super clean, like amazing, healthy, robust, and fantastic, again, the baby will be skewed to having more health just because they're 70% of the equation and the woman is 30. So the woman not being so great is not that as impactful. Now, The ideal is both people are very healthy. Now, next situation, the man is not so healthy and the woman is clean as a whistle, totally on board, doing all the right things. And the man is like stressed and drinking all night and not sleeping and all sorts of not doing the right healthy lifestyle. The child will not be born with as much health. All right. And the older men get, the more you see certain more neurodegenerative diseases being passed down to children. So there's a lot of things with the science of epigenetics that really start to awaken us to that. There is the opposite extreme. If your man loves to do extreme sports, is training for crazy Ironmans and doing all sorts of intense exercise, or like in my case, is a professional athlete and has a crazy schedule, we have to time things in a specific place where they're not that stressed and not working out as intensely, because the intense workout also has an inflammatory effect on the body. And this also leads to more negative health for that future child. So, you know, these are things to just think about and really weigh out, and really bringing the responsibility back to the parent and saying, you know, I want a healthy baby. I have to kind of work at it. Just like if I was a few pounds overweight that I want to lose, I got to work at it. Even if I want to get better at my job, I have to work at it. I mean, everything, there is no cutting corners. And also you could do it with your friends. You could do it with your family. You could do it with your partner. And you can just do it in a group setting where it kind of is actually quite fun. And there's a positive thing because you actually feel better. You work better, you live better. I mean, everything gets better. So, it's not a bad thing.
I hear that. And at the same time, I'm trying to like get perspective, and I think of myself on my trying to conceive journey. That was, you know, I was very motivated to like eat well, cook, take some time, but at the same time, there are a lot of things that you don't do well because you're tired, you're exhausted, you're stressed. There is anxiety, like 90% of couples and people who go through fertility treatments feel stress. So I feel like I'm listening to you and I'm like, all this, like, this is amazing. And at the same time, I'm thinking, and this is a question, I mean, feel free to, I can see that there are more people joining in, so feel free to leave some comments. How do you, because you shared that there was a lack of support, but how do you try to find balance without stressing too much of yourself with thinking of all those criteria that you have to go through, and at the same time getting the support that you need? And you know, not everyone is equal in getting support. So do you have resources or tips that you are aware of where, you know, like people can lean onto in order to feel less stress and kind of, you know, find ways to make it not affordable, but accessible in many ways, you know, without having a huge stress toll on their mental health?
It's really, really tough any which way because there's so many unique situations, you know. So what if you're, you know, living in, you know, a home situation where you're not safe in your neighborhood? You know, sometimes it's really hard to get out of that neighborhood. But I encourage people to go and, you know, go to the board, see what city or suburban programs exist. Is there some sort of, you know, housing situation where you might be able to transfer to? Do you need to move states? I don't know. There's been a lot of mobility, and sometimes we close ourselves off, like I could never move out of here, but then you realize I kind of can. You know, there are ways, and there's so much outreach for, you know, women's groups. There's I really recommend someone speaking either to their OBGYN, speaking to any women's groups in the area, speaking to their local council people and saying, hey, I don't feel safe in my life, and this is my situation. Do I qualify to live somewhere else? Do I have any programs here? Am I a single mom? You know, there's so many different, even churches, you know, there's church groups in these inner cities and in certain regions that are not inner cities that are just like not safe. Crime is going up. So we want to try to see if there's any sort of outreach or groups. I mean, the cool thing about the internet, I mean, there's a lot of bad, but there's a lot of good. And if you start really just going, okay, where are my problems? Now, let me go on and start Google searching in my local area what's available to me. And then you can go, okay, there's nothing. Okay, now let's look at the larger groups. And I do think that there is a way for people to find some of the support they need. And then I would just literally lean on a friend, find out, say, look, I'm not doing well in my current situation. Can me and my toddler, or me and my partner, live in I know that your dad lives in this area and he's, his house, he's never there. Could I borrow that for 9 months? I mean, there's like different ways that we can come up with reaching out to our loved ones. And we oftentimes have shame about that, and we shouldn't, especially if crime is building, if you're not feeling well, if you don't have the support, if your boyfriend just walked out on you because you just got pregnant. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can go out and about and look at who we've got near us, what local groups are available, and then what government programs you might actually qualify for, that you might be actually able to go into a better situation. I dealt with starving artists, and many of them they would get booked for a job, and then they didn't have enough money to get housing. And they were like, okay, I'm going to put my name in a lottery and try to find that, there's 2 buildings coming up where they're going to have, 20% of the apartments are going to go to starving artists. They look it up, they put their name down, bam. All of a sudden they're like in a wonderful apartment, in a great situation, right near the theater, and don't have the stress that they once did. Where there's a will, there's a way. I just think we just have to be intelligent about it. And then when we have nothing and we're like kind of in a really bad place, reaching out to loved ones, even if they're out of state, to try to see if they can help us with our search, or to see if we can, do something, even if it's a temporary situation.
Yes, because
it's a big deal.
It is, and it makes me think of, I was reading this article, especially in the US. I mean, we are based in France, and the context is a little bit different, but I've seen that you have all these things around the Great Resignation when we talk about the workplace, and we are seeing similar effects coming in Europe. And the biggest part of the people who were resigning from the Great Resignation are women. And there was this survey that was sharing that, especially in the US, people do not want to have kids anymore. And at the same time, in parallel, you do have all this data talking about infertility, that is growing over and over. Like 1 in 25 Americans will have access to the medical support to be able to have a family. In France, you have 3.3 million of people that do have to go through fertility treatments as well to have access to a family. And this is due to many things, the fact that we are having kids later, and at the same time because of our environments. So we are thinking of preconception, and this phase is a phase that we very often ignore when, we usually think of, oh, we would love to have our family, and we start thinking of having a family, and then it becomes complicated. Then we start thinking of like, oh, what is preconception, and how can we support ourselves to have healthier babies and healthier families ultimately. But I'm thinking, how can you better support when you think of this Great Resignation, women in the workplace really resigning, feeling kind of failed, if I can say. And this is not only a US problem, there are so many things that are happening out there when it comes to women's health. And few days ago, it was the International Day of Abortion. So it's also very interesting to see everything that is really coming out there. So what are the things that you see in your experience, as well as a physical therapist, but also as a woman that is talking to many other women, in terms of optimisms when it comes to being able to have both a family and be in the workplace? And what are the things you see that are happening in the workplace? That how can the workplace improve themselves and their space so that they redesign themselves so that everyone can finally fit in some ways?
So there's a huge, people are now sharing their leave. What's my maternity leave, right? Our paid leave. And there's certain countries that do amazingly well where they support the man and the woman for months at a time. And you basically are getting your salary or a portion of your salary while you're out so that you can have that baby. Because there are some that are saying, I just want a baby no matter what, and I'm going to push and strive, and maybe I'm running into trouble and I have to go down that road. And then there's other people that are saying, how can I possibly, my workload, I don't know if I could balance it all. Those are the people that really just need a very, very good supportive system. So I often have this question, as I've given many talks in my career, and feel very blessed about that, to have these conversations with women after I give my talks, that where they really feel more comfortable to talk to me. And they say, you know, how are you doing this all? You have a big booming practice in New York City. You're traveling, you're speaking, you're writing a book, you're doing these events at night. How are you balancing all of this? I only have one kid and one little job, and I don't know how I'm doing it. You know, can't balance it all. And I say, I have a babysitter that cooks for me, cleans for me, does the laundry. Why would you choose someone to support you if you have the funds to be able to have a babysitter or a housekeeper or somebody that's going to help you? And I had her only part-time. Okay, 3 days a week. And then I had my mother-in-law helping me out 2 days a week. And I didn't choose someone to be in my home that could not drive them to their activities. I can't believe I have a woman right now in my office, and she's like, I'm so stressed out because, you know, my nanny can't drive. And da, da, da. I said, why did you hire her? You know, you needed your older kid to be driven while you're dealing with the toddler or the infant. How could you hire somebody that didn't drive? So it's very important that we recognize what are our needs. If we do want to stay in the workforce and we do want a family, what are our needs? I need someone that's going to be cooking for me, or I'm going to take care of the cooking and keep things in the freezer. And I'm going to, you know, I had one patient that would do all the cooking for the week on Sunday, her day off. You know, she would basically like use the whole Sunday and cook a bunch of different meals that she could combine. And that was the meals for the day and for the week. And she had it all set because she wanted control over that. Then other people are like, I have no time to do the laundry. Oh my God, my kid has a jersey that he needs tomorrow and it's a baseball game. Like, you don't need to have that stress put on you when you have a big, maybe presentation on Friday. And now you've got to balance all the kids' responsibilities.
And at
or
the
your
same time,
child
not
needs to make it
everyone
to the
is.
pediatrician, you know, like whatever. So you have to choose, you have to see what your lifestyle is. And you say to yourself, what do I not have enough time for that stresses me out, that something fails, or I feel like I'm a failure? What are the things that really speak to me? And analyze yourself. That's how I fix people's pain, right? I analyze everything. We look at the history of everything that's gone on with them. We look at what they are doing now. What are their movement patterns? What do their body like to do? Same thing. Where are you having some gaps that you need a little extra support so you can thrive, so you could be the best mom you want to be, and so you could be the best employee or entrepreneur or whoever you are. And that's how it works, because we can't do this alone. It takes a village.
Yeah,
I'm a
you can't
huge
have it
proponent of
all.
that.
Yeah.
A huge proponent of that.
And
But
not
I
everyone
also
is
think,
as privileged either, you know, like to be able to
no,
have a babysitter. And this is
no,
where we believe that the workplace needs to be redesigned, and that employers do have a fair share that they need to take on their shoulders. And coming back to preconception, what I feel like is very interesting is how do you, you know, I do feel like it's kind of sad that people decide not to have families because they feel like they've been failed and they're not able to, you know, like pursue this dream. So how do you like redesign and create some optimism so that you are able to feel like you can start being on a preconception phase and think of having a healthy baby, and then really activate the different moments you feel ready to have that family of yours? And how can you be vocal about the support that you need? Where can you find the support that you need? So, I mean, we can't find all the solutions right now, but I do feel like it's important to emphasize the fact that it's very hard for women out there, you know? And we talk to women every single day at Ninty, and what I'm always in awe of is the pain that is out there. And the lack of support that is out there. So how do you organize and this is why we are also building Ninty, because we want women and, you know, and couples, families that are feeling that they are struggling when it comes to their sexual and reproductive health, to get the support they need and to have it also maybe funded by their employers if it's possible for them. So yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think the big elephant in the room is really the fact that a lot of women don't want to say that they're pregnant because, and number one, that's just in the beginning, you don't want to go through that because you want to be, you know, a little further
yeah.
along in your pregnancy before you even announce it. However, there's a lot of women that don't want to talk about the pregnancy because they're scared that they will not get the promotion they're up for, or they won't get the raise that they've been asking for in the last 1 or 2 years. So there's a fear around even having the conversation. And I actually spoke with the one major corporate group that's international, and they asked me, how can we get rid of the stigma that women are just hiding their pregnancies? Because we were realizing how much stress it was that they did not want to announce their pregnancy. Even it got to the point where they were well into their second trimester before they said anything, because they were so scared that they were either going to, you know, not be included in certain projects, to, you know, I'm going to be looked at differently. And so I do think that we have to get rid of the stigma and actually have it normal that we can say, hey, listen, let's call a spade a spade. I'm in this age in my life. I'm married. I am looking to start a family, and I want to know that I have your support. And I'd like to know more about your paid family leave. I'd like to know, you know, what you can do to help me so I could know what I have to do. But understand that I'm going to work hard for you, and I'm going to do just as I've been doing. If not anything, I am going to be able to balance my life. I just want to know how much support I'll be getting from you guys, and that will lead to better performance on my end. Period. You know? And I think that's advocating for ourselves, having a voice, having a discussion with maybe somebody that's superior to you that can either make those decisions or at least advocate on your behalf if you feel trepidatious. But I do think it all also comes back down to us. If we live in the angst and we live in the fear, we're not going to make the right choices. We're not going to advocate for ourselves. So when we were talking about support, another thing that I missed not saying is about really taking the time to get quiet with yourself, taking the time to do things that bring you joy, that make things fun for you. Because when you're doing those things, you're your best self. You're letting go of that sympathetic mode where you might be like maybe coming off in a little bit of a different way, and you're just stressed out and you're in fight and flight mode and things aren't rolling as well. But when you're in a parasympathetic mode, your body's in rest, digest, I'm loving life, everything's great. And instead of adding stress to the situation, you're depleting that and saying, you know what, I'm gonna have fun with this. I'm gonna figure it out. It's all going to be okay. Have the hope. And maybe I have to meditate to get there. Maybe I have to join a bowling league because I love bowling. I don't know, you know, like I'm joking, but you know, just anything that brings you joy that you put into your day or end week that you can do to, you know, just kind of bring the stress down and get you
like
into,
bring the stress down.
Yeah, and bring it, like get you back into your fun loving self, because when you're in that state, things flow better. You come up with answers better. When you're like grasping at straws because you're all stressed out, are you going to really make the best decision? Your body's like trying to stay alive. You know, it's thinking a bear is in the room. It's like, you can't access the real deep thoughts that may, you know, that spark of wisdom that we all have, and listening to our innate intuition, which is a huge part of the whole book, is like, what resonates for me? Let me do some research. But what resonates for me? Because when it resonates for me and I'm saying to myself, yeah, that feels right, I should maybe start doing that. Then you start to see a better change. But if you're just like, oh, this person told me this, you take the power away, you give the power to somebody else. Like somebody else is telling you, sure, you're going to drink like 3 cups of coffee when you're pregnant. Go ahead, you know, and then you take it and you're like, I'm constantly like no energy. I'm living in high and low. I don't feel good. I'm feeling Braxton Hicks contractions. I'm not, you know, I'm in the bathroom all the time, whatever. Is that really good for you? Maybe not.
Yeah, you come back to awareness and education, and that is another very important piece. And it leads me to the questions we received. And one question that came up very frequently is what is the difference between folic acid and
Yeah.
folate, and
Yeah.
why do
Folate. Yeah.
we
Yeah.
folate and why do we need to
Uh-huh.
take folic acid? And
Okay.
it's very interesting because the first time I heard of folic acid was when I embarked on my fertility journey. And it's
Yes.
true that I felt like we should all know what is folic acid, even if we are not on a fertility journey. Just like prenatal vitamins, I feel like everyone should know, every woman out there should know
Yeah.
what is prenatal vitamins, and we should not embark on a fertility journey or a desire of having a family to be able to get those information. So
Yeah.
if you can share more about this and
So
reply to this question from Foley, it's great.
sure. So folic acid is the like almost synthetic form of folate. So
Folate.
now there's a problem with this discussion because many people, especially nowadays, and I don't know if it's ever, I don't know how far back this goes, but we are seeing a large portion of the population that can't actually break down and kind of synthesize folic acid because they have a gene mutation called the MTHFR gene. And when you have that gene, you can't convert it to folate. Some people can. You could take that folic acid and then convert it to folate and you're good. So now they have a methylated folate in many prenatal vitamins because there are so many women that have the MTHFR gene that then cannot break it down. But this is all to help with certain birth defects. So what they've had a correlation if you're low on your folic acid, that your body, your baby can have certain defects. Now, there's a larger picture. We can't just zero in on one thing. I'm sure if you're really healthy and all of these things, it's fine. But if you are one of those person that cannot methylate this, it's going to be a problem actually to start just driving folic acid into your body. I do know people who have had issues when they've done that. And they gave birth to, babies that were actually not healthy. So we want to look at it as a spectrum thing, but you can get now genetic testing to just see, do I have the MTHFR gene? It's something to discuss with your healthcare practitioner. You can find out if you have it. If you don't have the availability to find out if you have it, you can just act like you have it and basically get the methylated
Choose
folate
folate.
just to be sure. And that's a little bit more helpful for synthesizing what you need and not having something accumulate in your body that you can't actually detox from, which can become a little bit toxic. So the conversation really does get deep on that. And I go into it with the functional medicine doctor that is helped me with the doctor portion of the book. She is a functional medicine practitioner, and they are probably at the forefront of making this connection. Because they do kind of epigenetic work and do a lot with food and micronutrients and macronutrients, supplements, and all sorts of things. And what you want is to take something that you're not just peeing out. As a practitioner would once say, then you just have expensive urine.
Yeah.
Because you just paid all this money for all these supplements and you're just peeing it out, right? So do I have good gut health to be able to actually absorb this nutrition? Do I have enough availability in the foods that I'm eating? Do I need to supplement? Do I have really low on X, Y, and Z? If you just take a basic prenatal, you might need a little extra D. You might need a little extra whatever. So you can formulate through different ways by yourself. And just a quick personal note. I mean, when I had my first son, that was 2008, and I actually had like a prescription from my doctor, and I got these like not over the counter, but prescription prenatals that also came with a DHA supplement with it. So the whole omega-3 thing for brain health and everything for the fetus. And then by my second one, she's like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. And then by my third one, they're like, nah, I don't know if you need a prenatal. So everything, that's 2015. So from 2008, it went from prescription strength, stuff to all the way to 2015. The studies don't show much. So don't be stressed out if you don't take a prenatal, but you should get just a regular blood panel to just see, am I low on my B's? Am I low on my D's? Am I, how are the levels in my body, and what can I do to supplement? And if you don't know if you have the MTHFR gene, I would just stick with methylated folate as the ingredient for folic acid instead of folic acid.
And when should you start taking them on your
Again, you should
preconception
start in the
journey?
preconception journey.
Yeah.
You should start, as early as 9 months before or more. I have women preparing for pregnancy over a year because they just wanted to get themselves into shape. They wanted to get stronger and things like that. But really, as soon as you can.
Okay.
And during.
Yeah. And during, yeah.
So,
thank you, Patricia.
Absolutely. It's been so fun.
It's been. I know that you have to leave soon.
Yeah.
We are almost 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And we will try to do more of these, hopefully. So feel free to send us your questions, your subjects, themes you would like us to address. And yeah, it's great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you can find my information on patricialattis.com.
Yeah.
And obviously I am active on my Instagram page, and I'm also on Ninty's website.
On Ninty,
well.
Exactly. Great you remembered.
Yeah.
You remind me of that.
Very good.
Yeah, you can
Thank
find
you so
Patricia
much.
on Ninty. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.